In the town of Pallet lived two promising young trainers. Blue, the grandson of the famous Professor Oak, and Red, who was a friend to everyone, including me, but that's not important right now. The day came when Red and Blue got their Pokemon. Those two were always at odds, but still friends. They each lit a fire under the other, making them try harder at every challenge. And this was no exception. The biggest thing any of them would ever do: become Pokemon trainers. Red chose a Squirtle. Blue chose a Bulbasaur just to spite him. Then they were off. I saw my friend walking towards Viridian City, and I never saw him again. The news started coming in that they both got through the forest to Pewter City, and even got their first badges from the Rock-type gym leader Brock. Then Red called his mom at the Pokemon Center just outside Mt.Moon, said he was heading into the cave, but never heard from him after that. Blue got to Cerulean City and called the professor to tell him he was okay, but Red never did, and his mom got really worried. She talked to Oak about her son, but he told her he probably just forgot, and he'll call back later. But days went by, then weeks, then my mom got a call from Oak. He said there was a note on the door at Red's house from his mom, stating she was going to go look for him, and that was the last time any of us heard from her. My mom decided that we should move. A gang started taking over parts of Kanto. They called themselves Team Rocket. At the time, I wasn't opposed to it. Pallet Town never felt the same after the disappearances. So we moved to a town in Johto called Newbark, right next door to another professor. Go figure. Professor Elm was a goofy guy, but he was alright, I guess. I never stopped thinking about Red. I promised myself when I got older, I would become a Pokemon trainer and go look for him myself. I called friends in Pallet to see if they heard any news about him. No one's heard anything, but they did ask if I was going to come back home because Team Rocket disbanded. Mom has no intentions of going back. A few years later, the day finally came. I got a Pokemon from Professor Elm. With a catch. I was to go get an egg from a man who called himself Mr. Pokemon. So I chose Cyndaquil and started off on my journey. I saw Professor Oak again. He gave me a Pokedex. That was pretty cool. I grabbed the egg and on my way back I got stopped by some strange kid. He challenged me to a Pokemon battle. It was my first time. And I won. But it wouldn't be the last time I saw him. I got back to Elm's and a cop was there. Elm was robbed. A Totodile was taken. The same Pokemon that kid had. After he took my statement, I was free to go. I decided to take the gym challenge. I got through to the 7th gym and some weird stuff started happening in the Lake of Rage, right outside of Mahogany Town. Me and this guy Lance took out a hideout that belonged to Team Rocket, who had supposedly disbanded, but they took over a radio station, so I went to figure out if they knew anything about Red's disappearance. They stole Pokemon. Why not children? But none of them knew who I was talking about. They just told me Team Rocket disbanded in Kanto because of some kid from Pallet Town. I figured I would go investigate. So I finished the gym challenge with all 8 badges, and I made my way back home to Kanto. I tried to take the road Red took. I went through Mt.Moon and found an empty room, a lab built into the mountain. There was a cage. It looked like it kept something that got too big. There was a huge hole in it, but that was it. I got the badge from Cinnabar Island Gym, and I saw a familiar face. It was Blue, and he challenged me to come to his gym. He didn't even recognize me, but that didn't bother me. And then he left, so I went to Viridian and battled him. He was as tough as I thought he'd be, but I won. I finally revealed my identity, and I told him I was trying to find Red, and if he could help me. He said after Giovanni was defeated and Team Rocket disbanded, they found the body of Red's mom in Mt.Moon, but Red was never found. Rumor has it Team Rocket had another facility on mt.silver, but he wasn't able to get up there since he became the gym leader. He looked sad when he told me. I figured that I should go. I thanked him and went on my way. I had beat the gym challenge in Kanto and decided to challenge the Elite Four, and I became the champion, but I felt like a fraud. I was in a Pokemon Center when I heard a mountain man talk about a mysterious figure training up on the peaks of Mount Silver. I tried to get more information, but he was uneasy and paranoid. He said I'll never go up there again. Professor Oak was doing a lecture across town, so I paid him a visit, and I told him what I heard. He said I should go up there and put everyone's mind at ease, so I did. It was cold on the way up, and the more I walked, the colder it got. I felt myself get gloomier and gloomier. Finally, the wind got considerably worse, and I couldn't see in front of me. Then something cracked under my feet. I reached down and picked up a Pokedex. The screen was cracked. I searched through it. The last Pokemon registered was Mewtwo. I put it away in my backpack, and I kept going. I was about to reach the top when I thought I saw a statue, but it started moving. It looked like him, like he looked when I saw him for the last time. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe it was him. He looked like I felt just sorrow. I called out to him, and he pulled a Pokeball from his waistband, and I saw a little more of his face. I could have swore for just a second his frown became a smile. I began to cry, and I yelled out to him that I challenged him to a battle, and he threw out a Pikachu, and I threw out an Onix. Pokemon after Pokemon came out. We used all 6. He was the best trainer I ever faced. I was barely able to beat him, but I did, and he looked at me for a while. Then he turned around and headed back up the mountain. I walked down to the entrance of Mount Silver, and Professor Oak was waiting for me. I told him what happened. Then I asked him about Mewtwo and the Pokedex. He then pulls out a Master Ball and tells me that Mewtwo's inside. Blue caught him a few years back. I told him Mewtwo was the last Pokemon registered in Red's Pokedex. He said it would take a talented trainer to catch a Mewtwo without a Master Ball. The reason why I gave you your Pokedex is the same reason I gave Red his. You both have good qualities to be great trainers. My sorrow became misery, and I asked the professor what he thought happened to Red. He sighed and cleared his throat. I believe when Red went through Mount Moon, he saw Team Rocket doing something horrible and tried to stop it, and he was captured. His mother went to look for him and sacrificed herself to save him, as any mother would, and they moved Red to another facility, where he met his demise. Blue defeated Team Rocket single-handedly, then went to look for Red, but never found him. Then he became the Viridian City gym leader, so Giovanni's underlings wouldn't try to take it over, so he never got to battle the Elite Four because of his status. I have more respect for Blue, but even more for Red, but I will never go back to Mount Silver again. I completed my mission, but I feel empty. After all I've done, what I've seen, I feel like I should be able to look back fondly on my adventure, but I just wish I could have found him, and we would be friends still, and rivals. Maybe he'd be the champion. I have 16 badges, and am the champion in 2 regions. But after all that, I just miss my friend.